Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue watching reality television. That is 90 Day Fiancé. Let's watch the show and see if anything of interest comes out of my face. Again, as I always say, I'm totally speculating whenever I'm talking about these people. I don't really know them, so let's watch the show.
I only agreed to Tarik to call Menti because I want to find out what's going on with both of them. But she was trying to steal Tarik. And I am worried if Tarik still wants Menti.
Yeah, so it's a viable conclusion to come to that she had. The impression we were getting from Tarik was that they had broken up with Minty, and then there was just one time where Tarik reached out to Minty and wanted to check in with her about the pandemic, but he had no connection to her at all. And then we saw in the last episode where Tarik was really trying to shoehorn in this conversation with Minty. They were trying to find a person that the two of them would be able to date online, and they were having some troubles, and they needed to reach out to Minty, who lives in another country, to ask her about advice about how to meet someone. It'd be hard to imagine how Minty would know any advice. Maybe Minty is an expert on online poly, open relationship dating. I don't know. It didn't seem that way, especially as the conversation progressed. Tarik and Minty seemed to have a lot more communication that Hazel isn't aware of. At least that's the way it came across. And certainly Minty was saying, how about me? And what I've been saying from the beginning is there's nothing wrong with Minty saying, hey, I miss the two of you, and I'd like to be in a relationship with the two of you again. Particularly with Tarik, because I really fell for Tarik, and I want to be in a relationship with him. There's nothing wrong with Minty saying that. It's not Minty's attempt to steal Tarik necessarily. She wants back in the relationship, and she feels bad that they all got broken up. If you all have ever been in a situation like that where someone dumps you and you wish you could get back together with that person, something wrong with that impulse. How do you communicate it? That sort of thing. With Tarik, there's also nothing wrong with him saying, I miss Minty and I want her back in our life. And I don't know how to communicate about that. Maybe I can convince my fiancée Hazel to reconsider this thing because I really had a connection with Minty. There's also nothing wrong with Hazel saying, I want an open relationship, but not with her because she threatens my status with you too much. So all three people are coming from seemingly a valid place. How do you communicate about that? Well, Tarik, instead of going, so I don't know, but if Tarik did have that narrative, instead of going to Hazel and being like, look, Hazel, I know we broke up with Minty and I know you were threatened by her, but I miss her. And my primary is with you, but is there any path that we can take? Is there any way we can make it work with Minty? Is there some way that you could trust her more? What's going on here? Is there something we can do? Instead of going to Hazel, seemingly he went to Minty behind her back, and that, of course, would concern Hazel. Not necessarily because he still has feelings for her, because there's nothing strange about that, really, but that you would go behind someone's back. And this is what I really want to emphasize, and because I've seen so many people make this mistake. There's nothing wrong with your feelings. It's what you do with it. And if you do something that will destroy someone's trust in you, it's not just that one incident that they won't trust you about. They will generally not trust you, perhaps for the rest of their life with you. If you do one incursion on trust and you think, well, this is the only thing I'm doing. I'm only deceiving her on this one little issue. I'm not deceiving her in other ways. How can Hazel know that? How can Hazel know that you're only deceiving her in this one way? It's rational to assume that you're deceiving in a multitude of ways, and Hazel has only picked up on one or two of them. So deception and lying is so destructive in a relationship. And part of it has to do with your own shame about your own emotions. If you are ashamed of yourself, and you were shamed, then you'll hide it. You'll figure out some way to get your needs met, and sometimes you'll fudge the rules a little bit. Well, when you do that, I understand why you do that, but you will destroy the trust that other people have in you. And when people don't trust you, they are frequently triggered, they're frequently hurt, and they will distance themselves from that pain, and then where are you? Then you've lost everybody.
She knows us. We've never dated anybody else. I thought she could help us But we didn't even get to talk about that with her because once she saw your attitude, then that's going to make her have an attitude right then.
Wow. I have to say, I'm pretty disappointed in Tarik. I mean, I don't know if I don't understand the situation. I'm watching a TV show that is edited. The way it looks is that Tarik right now, not only did it seem, of course I have no evidence, but it seemed like he was having ongoing conversations, at least other conversations with Minty that Hazel didn't know about. He was giving Minty eyes like in the Zoom chat. He's like, hey, I don't know what's going on with her. And seemingly was trying to almost bulldoze Hazel. Seems like Minty and Tarik are more verbal, a little bit more dominant, and Hazel seemingly comes across as more nice. I think Hazel does have good boundaries. She's exhibited that, but she's just softer about it. And so I think Tarik was hoping that Minty and him could somehow bulldoze Hazel and then changing her mind. That wasn't a good look. And now, instead of saying, yeah, I'm sorry, I want to establish a good relationship with you, blah, 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 he is essentially blaming Hazel for the whole incident. He's saying, well, yeah, I mean, hey, I was just calling Minty to ask her about how we could meet someone else, and then because of your attitude, that's what triggered Minty.
Yeah, that's what I don't like. She was very disrespectful to me.
I get it. I hear you. It was a bad idea for me to text her. It was a bad idea for me to think she could help us. What do you want me to do about it?
All right, so one thumb up to Tarik for saying it was a bad idea. I shouldn't have done that. Well, he didn't say that. He said it was a bad idea to call her. So he's admitting it was a bad idea. So half a thumb up. So what do you want me to do about it? I think it's pretty obvious. It's, I'm sorry I did that. I'm sorry I put you in that position. I'm sorry that I exposed you to that. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. He should apologize, really. And let's see what Hazel says.
I don't know, but I don't trust you with her. And I still think you call her because that's what you like. X is X for me. I want no more chatting, no more calls.
So I really wonder what's going on in Tarik's mind, because his body language is like, there she goes again with her crazy talk. I mean, what is so confusing and confounding about Hazel's wish here that she doesn't want them to talk? Now, again, Tarik could say, but we invited her into the, well, but that wasn't the circumstance. The way it went down was Tarik said they broke up, and then Tarik got together with Minty, and then in a way, Hazel is almost like the third wheel. So maybe there's some history around that. I don't know. But at the very least, Tarik has said, I want to marry Hazel, and the way they act, they are each other's primary. That's a polyamorous term of there's a primary and then you have secondary relationships. The secondary relationships the other relationships can be very intense, can have a lot of love and a lot of intensity, but you consider one person, not always, to be your primary person that you hold up in terms of priorities. And it might be the outward-facing relationship that you show to the rest of the world, because the rest of the world is very bigoted about open relationships. But anyway, so there's nothing wrong with Tarik saying, hey, I miss her, but I'm a little boggled as to why Tarik is confused by all this. He could be frustrated. He could say, I just really miss her, and I really had a connection with her. Now, Hazel has this narrative that Tarik only likes Minty because she's Thai, that Tarik is into Thai women. And maybe he is, but I think it's probably likely deeper than that. Usually things like that are, that it's not just that she's Thai, it's the person. You know, when you see the person, the very little bit that we've seen of Minty's personality versus Hazel's personality, I wouldn't be surprised if Tarik says, well, I really love Hazel for these reasons. She's very safe, she's very calm, she's very secure, She's very nice. She's really great with my daughter. She's very, she just makes me feel safe, and I love being with her. But Minty is exciting and has, power and has sex appeal or something. I could imagine that Tarik would be in that position, and he is wanting to be with Minty. There's nothing wrong with that. But how do you communicate that? They haven't they haven't been clear about their polyamorous, open relationship, non-monogamous desires or identification. So I'm not really sure what their policies are. But anyway, let's continue watching.
How long is this going to keep going on? We can be married, living happily, and you'll probably still be questioning me about Minnie. Did you call her? Did you text her?
Oh, I see. So he was rolling his eyes because he's saying Hazel is unnecessarily paranoid about him. I think she's paranoid because she has reasons to be worried, to think that you are. And you did deceive her. You did lie by omission. You promised not to contact her. And then you did contact her, that at least that one time. It looks like it's more times than that. So I think Hazel has reasons to be worried. So at the very least, Tarik should say, okay, yes, I did one time reach out to her when the pandemic started, and that was wrong of me, and I'm really sorry. At least he should be able to say that in that instance. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. When you have a trust incursion, let's use a bigger example, when there's infidelity. And you could almost consider this to be in that direction. When there's an infidelity, almost all the time when I treat couples who are recovering from infidelity, the cheating partner will almost always say things like what Tarik said. They'll roll their eyes and be like, how many times are you going to bring this up? And I, as a therapist, will look at the cheating partner in the eyes, and I'll be like, because you did what you did, that's why they bring it up, because it hurts. The pain of infidelity, the pain of deception, the pain of lying to someone it lasts a long time. And there are waves of pain that come over the cheated on partner that will last many, many years. Maybe it'll go away if you do enough apologizing over the next 15 years. But it's normal. Her feelings are normal. Hazel's feelings of distrust and hurt and pain are normal. Your feelings are also normal, that you wish it would go away. It's not going to go away. Her feelings are normal. You wish it would go away. I get it. It's not going to go away. So deal with it, because that's what you signed up for when you decided to cheat. I don't have any problem telling cheating partners the truth there. I just look them right in the eye and I'm like, this is what you get when you do something wrong. This is why they have vows. This is why you have agreements. This is why we have commitments. This is why we tell kindergartners not to lie to people. It's because of this. It's to avoid what you are now dealing with. You don't like dealing with this. I get it. But lies have consequences. Deception has consequences. And if you love your partner enough, we can get through this. We will. But you have to let go of this desire, this irrational notion that somehow she can put it in a box and throw it away, because she can't. It hurt and it's painful. And if we're going to get through this, you have to listen to it and absorb it and incur the pain of acknowledging that you did something else to someone else. Doesn't mean you have to grovel. Doesn't mean you have to shame yourself. You don't have to whip yourself with a flog. But you do have to recognize the reality of the emotional impact of deception and cheating and infidelity. So I wish someone would, as I always say, I wish that a couples therapist, a good one, would be able to work with these people, because this problem isn't that hard to work through. But let's continue watching.
Listen, you have to trust me all the way or not. I trust you all the way. I think you're trying to make me out to be the villain, the bad guy, and I ain't even done. Yeah.
So this is what they will often say too. Now, I'm not saying that cheating on partners are evil. They're not. It's a very common thing. It's a surprisingly common thing for people to commit infidelity. And his attitude is pretty common too. I'm being made out to be the villain. You're not moving on from this. I don't understand. Very common. So now, maybe Hazel is being unreasonable. Maybe he is telling the truth that he only reached out to her that one time. It doesn't look like that. But he did do it that one time. So he could say, well, I'm not completely blameless. I did do something wrong. It's hard to admit that sometimes, and I wonder if Hazel can help him to understand what he did to her. But the way that he's talking, he's not making it easy for her.
You're trying to like make it like I'm trying to get back with her. I'm trying
Yes. But she's not gonna be our girl.
I never said she was. I never said call her to see if we
You're
can.
so defensive.
Because you're saying that I'm doing something that I'm not doing.
It is kind of interesting. And they have an interesting dynamic where she's very calm, not very verbal, and he is talking a lot. And maybe that works out. If I were there, I'd really have Tarik say, okay, we get it. Hazel, step into the room, speak more spontaneously, because we need both people to be present in this situation. And I would get Tarik to maybe elicit more of that or be more relaxed so that it gives her more space to talk or something like that. But anyway, so it was good of her. He's like, you make it seem like I want to get back together with her. And she's like, yeah, that's actually exactly what I'm upset with you about. And then he's getting amped up. And then she says, I don't understand why you're being so defensive. Though it is kind of an interesting observation. It's like, yeah, why is Tarik getting so defensive, even though she hasn't really even said anything that harsh towards him? He is reacting to things that he thinks is happening from her, and maybe there is a little bit of that she wants to say. But usually when people get super defensive, it's usually because they're trying to cover up something. I mean, well, I shouldn't say that. Sometimes when people get super defensive, over excessively defensive, it usually means that they're trying to put up a smokescreen or something. And I get it. I believe Tarik does not want to lose Hazel. This is a universal thing that people will do in a conflict, is you're angry at me, and the way I know, because I was taught this by my parents and by society and by reality television, that in order for me to win the day and to retain my relationship with you, in order to get you to love me, I need you to stop thinking what you're thinking. And I need you to not think that. So I'm going to shame what you think, and I'm going to tell you that you're stupid. And then hopefully you will realize that you're stupid, and you'll change your mind, and you won't hate me anymore, and we can be in a relationship together. Of course, that doesn't usually work.
I am worried. What if one day he gonna fall in love with her again? But Tarik wants me to think that will never happen.
So that's an interesting statement. We almost never hear from Hazel, and I wish we heard more. But that's an interesting statement. She's like, what if he falls in love with her again? So one, she believes he fell in love with her, which maybe is possible. And two, by implication, I don't know, but she doesn't want him falling in love with other people. Since the beginning, and particularly as we head into this conversation, I have these huge questions for the two of them. If I were their couples therapist, I would say, what kind of non-monogamy are the two of you looking for? Because by that, it sounds like she doesn't want him to fall in love with anyone else except for her. So are we talking about she doesn't mind if he has sex with someone else, but she doesn't want him to fall in love with anyone else, or she doesn't want him to prefer anyone over her or even at the same level as her? Or does Hazel just want a relationship just for her, and she would rather have Tarik not be involved with anyone? There's just so many questions that need to be answered that I don't know if the two of them either really understand or know that there are options and flexibilities there. I don't know. But I feel really bad for Hazel because obviously she's hurt and Tarik isn't really seeing it.
At this point, do you believe Tarik?
At this point, no.
Right. So at the very least, she has reasons to not trust him because he did lie by omission earlier. According to his admission, he said, I reached out to her and I didn't tell you about it. So at the very least, she has reasons to distrust him in that way. But again, the tone of that conversation, it sure did seem like Tarik and Minty had had conversations outside, maybe even many conversations. It wouldn't be unusual, given that he's done that before, but at the very least, we know that he did do the one deception, lying by omission, and now the paranoia begins. And if he doesn't make up for it and hear her feelings and help her to trust him, this is going to create more divide, which is really sad because I think the two of them have really a good thing going.
I've seen Hazel sort of shut down before, but right now I have no idea what she's thinking because there's no communication. I don't know how long it's going to take us to get past this, but time is something we just don't have right now.
Right. So I don't know, but I think that they have two issues, and both of them have some responsibility. For him, as I've been saying, he is acting in a typical way that happens in a situation like this where there will be a transgression of trust, and there is a hope from the Tariks of the world of just get over it. I don't understand why you're lingering on it. Why are we living in the past? You'll hear people say that. So it's normal, and I think that Tarik would need some help with that. Of just like, look, dude, it takes them a while to recover, and I think you have to do a little bit more apologizing, a little bit more building of trust back. It's normal that she feels distrustful of you at this moment. And then the thing that Hazel, I think, is responsible for, and I think she's maybe, this is a 75-75% responsibility, but some, is that Hazel has a style of communicating where she does, quote unquote, shut down. And that's what Tarik is saying, is like she shuts down sometimes. And so that gives me a little bit of information that for her, when she doesn't know what to do or when she's hurt, that she becomes kind of blank. There's various reasons why people will do that. One is that they don't know what to say. And English is her second language, so maybe that's a factor as well. But sometimes you just don't know what to do. You're confused. You're just like, I don't know what to say. Another reason why people do that is because they're trying to communicate through the silent treatment that I'm hurt. By me rejecting you and by giving you the cold shoulder, I'm hoping that you will know how much you have hurt me, and I hope you will come to me and apologize to me, and then I can open up. It doesn't usually work that way, but that's another reason. The other possibility is that she's just really chill. That's the possibility. She's just like, yeah, I'm really hurt, but I'm not going to freak out about it, and I don't really feel a lot of love feelings towards him, so I'm just going to live my life. So there's a possibility that he might even be reading into it a little bit. I don't know. Let's see how they communicate about it. All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.